The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for our Hospice Billing Coffee Break. My name is Krista Shipman, and I am going to be your hostess for our meeting today, for our session today. I'm part of the Outreach and Education team with National Government Services. And just to give you a little idea of this coffee break, in case you haven't joined us before, this is a very informal session just to touch base on any questions that you may have about hospice billing, um, general questions. We can't look at specific claims or answer any claim specific or beneficiary specific questions on this call. Those still need to be directed to the provider contact center. But our vision for this call is just to get together to maybe discuss any um, issues that you might be running into, or if you're having problems finding some helpful resources. I can go out to our website or CMS's website and point you to some good resources, and also a way for you to maybe bounce some questions or ideas off of your hospice billers peers. So I don't really have a formal presentation for our session today. I just like to have some slides up in order for us to utilize the closed captioning feature in GoToWebinar. So the disclaimer that you see on this slide is basically just to let you know that anytime we talk about anything at the time that we're speaking of it, that's what we know at the time. The best way to put it, because Medicare does have a way of changing, and so we can only speak to what's accurate and up to date as of the time that we are meeting or discussing information. And it is advisable to make sure that you are signed up for our listserv and the CMS listserv and have access to both websites, just to make sure that you have access to those current information. This is just a reminder that NGS does not allow any type of recording for our session, so no digital or audio recording for anything that we host or any sessions that we provide. Our next slide is just to give you an idea of some of the resources that are available to you from your Medicare Administrative Contractor, which is NGS. And so we have some videos out on our YouTube channel that might be helpful for you. We have our mobile messages that you can either get news or play games by texting games or news to 37702. Our Medicare University platform is getting a facelift, so you'll be getting more information about that as things are changing and being updated in Medicare University, which is also another good reason for you to sign up for email updates. And you can see that's an option on the screen here as well. Our website, of course, always a great resource for you. Our self-service portal, the NGS Connects portal, and then, of course, availability of the IVR. We also have a podcast that we've been doing for several months. It's the Navigating Medicare Home Health and Hospice Insights for Providers. We're taking a little break for the summer, but we do have several episodes out there on Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. And then the last thing I just want to touch on really quickly is our summit. We have a 3-day summit that we are collaborating with the other two home health and hospice MACs to put on. So we're working with CGS and Palmetto GBA to get some robust education developed for our 3 days of education, October 2nd through the 4th of this year. And we are going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Flamingo. And so join us there if you can. It's really a great opportunity to hear from many of the departments within the contractors, within the MACs. So we'll have audit and reimbursement there, medical review, provider enrollment, appeals, of course, provider outreach and education. I think that's all that I can think of off the top of my head, but we'll also have sessions from the DOJ, the UPIC, and CMS. So it's a great opportunity for you to network and mingle with some of your peers and get some great education. So there is a link on our website. Once you go to the homepage, when you log in as a home health and hospice provider, you'll see a banner that will link you out to the registration. But this QR code on this screen will also take you to the education that we have available. So I'm just going to leave that up for a little bit if you're interested in going out there and looking at it and getting some more information about the summit. But since this is our just kind of chat session, I will open up the option for you to ask questions. You can do it one of two ways. Whichever way is more comfortable for you is fine by me. I'm going to give you the option to raise your hand if you want to ask your question verbally, or if you would like to just type in your question. You should be able to see the question box now. Just type your question in, click send, and I will be able to see it. And again, just make sure that your questions are HIPAA compliant. So again, no claim specific, beneficiary specific questions can be asked either verbally or if you're going to type in your question in the question box. So while you are thinking of any questions that you have for me, I do want to talk about one of the recent kind of claim issues that we've seen with the hospice claims, which is that 17729 reason code that was put into place based on the fact that the certifying physician information is required to be on the claim. And for some reason, like the behind the scenes checking of looking at PACOS and looking at FIS, for some reason, like the files weren't, like the same files weren't being looked at. And so that has been corrected. I think that was going on for like a week or two before the fix went in for that. So the update has been implemented into the system, and the all of the Macs had this issue, and so we will all begin reprocessing the claims that rejected for that reason code with from dates on or after June 3rd. If there was a correct rejection for that reason code, that of course will remain out there, but the ones that not corrected, edited in error are going to be reworked. So, if you go through and you find that the error or the edit was an error, then that would be a time to contact the provider contact center in order for them to look into that further. But the fix that went into place is active now. So there shouldn't be any erroneous rejections for that reason code at this time. But we know that it was causing an error at one time, like when it was first put into the system. I have a good question here. How do we access the podcast? I'm just going to flip back a screen so you can look at, or you can scan there the QR codes for either Spotify or Apple. Or you can go to our website, and under the apps on our website, there's a link out to the podcast as well. Thank you for that. I'm glad there's some interest in the podcast. And we've covered, since it's a home health and hospice podcast, like there are some episodes where we talk about like general information that would be appropriate or applicable to both home health and hospice. And then there are some that we talk about hospice billing, we talk about documentation, and then some we talk about home health billing and home health documentation. So, you should be able to just look at the different titles of our episodes and figure out which would be of interest to you. And if you go out to our podcast, um, either in Spotify or Apple, and you look at all this stuff, or you listen to some of the episodes that we've done so far, and you're thinking, hey, it would be really great to have a podcast on XYZ topic, we would love to hear that feedback from you as well, because our goal is to help you as best we can. And so if there's some education that we don't currently have available that you would like to see, we would love to hear that from you. And you can send something to our mailbox. That'd probably be a good way to do it. Or when you fill out the survey about today's session, you could put some information in there as well. Thank you for your question. You may still be thinking of some things to ask, so I'll just keep going on for a little bit because I have a couple other things that I can talk about. The upcoming education that we have, there is a session next week on top error codes. So if you do the billing for your agency, or like you do like claim resolution, trying to figure out like how to clean up claims that haven't processed, that might be a good session for you to attend, or actually it would be a good session for you to attend. And I think that one is on Wednesday, because I have one on home health and one on hospice, and I can't remember which day is which. See, on our events page, the top claim errors are next Wednesday. Okay, so if you want to sign up for that, I'll be going over what we've seen in rejections and RTPs over the past quarter. And I think there was, what was the one other thing I wanted to talk about that's relatively new since the last time we had our coffee break? There was an article that was added to our website under our education. So if you go to education and Medicare topics and you go to hospice billing, there was an article added about hospice transfers. So that's something a little new that is on our website as well. Oh, and then we have a question about transfers. Okay, if we are the receiving agency in a transfer situation, is there a timely filing requirement for the 81C? I know we have to wait for the transferring agency to submit their final claim. And Mel, since you asked this question, this is a good time. This would be a good time for me to show you where we can find that information. So let me switch my screen view, or actually I can just drag this over, I think. Hopefully it will change the view for you and you'll be able to see, excuse me, where I'm going. Okay, so if you are in our website, once you log in as a home health and hospice provider and choose your state, from the homepage, or actually anywhere you are in the website, these options are always at the top of the screen. So if you click on education and go to Medicare topics, and then you scroll down to hospice billing, you can see all of our articles and job aids out here. And so the one that I'm talking about is over here on the side. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of highlighted when I hover over it, the billing hospice transfers. So that is the new-ish article that's out there. I think it was out here at one time, and I had it taken down to just add some updated information to it and take away some of the outdated information. And there's really no time frame for, there's no like deadline where the 81C is supposed to be submitted by the transferring agency. And that's why we try to stress to make sure that agencies are communicating with each other and making it as smooth of a transition as possible, so that you don't have to wait a super long time. I'm sorry, as the receiving agency, the transferring agency has to get their final claim in. I said that backwards. So to make sure that they submit their final claim in order for you to get your 81C or your 8XC billing in there. And then, there is information in here about, the agencies are not like one agency isn't cooperating. And so if you've tried to work it out between yourselves and you have documented all the times that you've attempted to contact the agency, you can file a transfer dispute with the provider contact center. But our hopes are that the agencies are working together in order to coordinate that to make it as smooth as possible. Okay, and I think I saw a hand raised. Let me see if I can go over to. Okay. Claire, I see your hand is raised. I have unmuted your line. So if you unmute yourself, I should be able to hear you if you have a question for me.
Sure. Hi, Krista.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question. It sort of came up along with the 17729 claim edit.
Okay.
When you're looking at a claim, and let's say we have everything correct, we have the NPI correct, we have the attending physician correct, and the physician is PICO certified for hospice. There's also the specialty code that's affixed to the right on the same line for that particular, for any physician on Medicare hospice claims. Who regulates how that specialty code is assigned? I know it's not something that the EMR allows you to do. And when I've asked the PCC, they tell me it's done in the background at NGS, but they're not able to tell me how that's done. So we've had two claims that kicked out because the provider may have been certified. We had one where the provider was certified in the past as a student, but now has long since graduated and is also certified as an internist. However, the system is picking up the student code. How is that done in the background? And how can hospices then be certain that that correct code that the provider is currently enrolled for is the code that's affixed to the claim?
See, I believe that is assigned based on their PACOS enrollment. And I'm not sure then if like that issue where it was updated because they had one specialty, but then their specialty changed.
Correct.
If it had to do with like the different, like the PACOS file that was being looked at. Because
Okay.
I think what was happening was like there was some file in FIS that was pulling from a different part of PACOS or something. Like I honestly don't know how
Okay.
all of
Okay.
that works
Okay.
because it is like the way that the system is communicating with PACOS or the other system. And so it may that may be corrected based on like this update
Okay.
that was done.
Okay. All right, we just had one or two like that, so I'm
Yeah.
going to try resubmitting
Okay.
one of them and see
Yeah.
what happens. But
Yes.
okay, so that is true then. It's not the hospice or the clearinghouse or any EMR. It's really NGS that controls how that specialty code is assigned to an attending provider, correct?
I don't think it's I don't think it's an NGS. I think it's a PACOS thing. I think it's
Okay,
the
all right,
specialty
good.
that's assigned based on how
Based on
they
PICOs.
enroll.
Okay,
They've enrolled. Yes.
okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate your help.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Thanks.
Okay, okay, remuted there. Good. Thank you, Claire. Okay, let's see. Next question. For a late NOE or NOA, do we need to enter the Q5001 line separate for the non-charge billable services? So you're talking about the site of service code? Is that what, if I'm remembering that, is that what that Q500, or am I thinking something different? Separate for the non-charge billable services. Let me see if I can find, I'm going to move this over just a little bit, just see if I can find something on there about, so you don't see me like scrolling and looking and flipping screens. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to move this back over to see if this is what you are referring to. There's something on our website about the site of service codes. This is the article. It's still under hospice billing. Okay, that just defines what they all are. Okay, so if you're saying like for a specific, not the, because the site of service code only is like billed with like a nominal charge and is supposed to be reported with the first service at that, like in that, for that site of service. So if you're saying that there are billable and non-billable charges for the same service, you just break out the non-billable charges. Is that what you're asking? Like for the same service, if there are, like, if there's, how would that work though? Sorry, I'm trying to wrap my brain around what, like what situation would cause that. Okay. There's nothing about, let me go to the billing manual and see if there's anything about that in there. If anybody else has any insight in this, if I can. Okay, so I can't seem to get the claim to process when an NOE or NOA is late, but there are certain dates that are billable and the dates that are considered late are non-billable. And I know for the NOE, not the NOE, the NOA I'm thinking of. It's the first service provided. Let me see. Hold on. I'm just going to go to I'm just, instead of talking out loud the whole time, let me just see if I can find something in the manual about that. Judy, have you called the PCC to look at the like one of your claims that is not processing based on that issue? Because I don't know if I'd be able to figure it out based on the reason code, because it's kind of hard to figure it out without looking directly at a claim. Okay. Yeah, if you can call the PCC and see what they might be able to help, like walk you through what's going on that you're getting an edit when you're trying to build a site of service. Okay. Next question: for submitting an 81B, the directions state enter the start date of the hospice benefit period, and in which the discharge or revocation is effective. Was there changes recently? We were told it should be the date the patient first elected hospice for the statement date as well as the admit date. All right, let me look at that one as well. You're asking some good questions. I love it. Okay. So you're talking about the statement covers period for the 81B, Lynette? Let's see if this helps. I don't know if this is in the manual for the 81B. It says in all cases, the admission date has to match the from date, which is the statement from date. Does this help at all with what you're asking? Oh, Lynette, you have your hand raised. I'm going to open your line if you have a question that you want to ask about this to follow up. I have your line unmuted if you want to unmute yourself to ask if this doesn't help. Oh, you didn't mean to raise your hand. Sorry. Okay, I'll remute you. Okay. I see, Diane, you have your hand raised. You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question.
Yeah, back to this 81B, the revocation thing, where it says, okay, when there's no blah, 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 from date on the, okay, so is it the from date is like, okay, if they were admitted on January 12th, 2024, and they're discharging as of today, July, would we put the January date or would we put the benefit period date? Like say the benefit period was June 15th. So would we go from June 15th to July 2025 or would we go January to July? That's always been my issue. And I know when our things come off our system, it has the original start of care date. And I know there's been a change because at one time we were told not to put the very first started date, but the benefit period that they're revoking or discharging in. So what is correct?
Okay, give me your scenario again. I just want to make sure I'm following. So, okay.
My client was admitted on January 15th, 2024. That was the very first benefit period. And let's say, okay, now he's in the third benefit period, which started on June 15th. And so now he's revoking on or discharging on July 25th. Do we put the start date as June 15th, the start of that benefit period, or do we go back to the beginning of hospice care, which began in January?
Okay, so it says that when there's no change in the provider during the election, which would be your situation, right?
Right.
The start date of the election period is the from date. And that would also be the admission date.
Okay, so it's the admission date of hospice, not the benefit period date of hospice.
No, it says based on what the manual is saying, that if there's no change in the provider during the election, which there was not, because they are in their third benefit period with you and they were admitted on January 15th, then the start date of the election period is the from date.
Okay.
Not the benefit period, the election period.
Right. And so then the second thing on here, if they were transferred to someone else, then that election period would go from their start date. So it doesn't take out my stuff from what I'm reading.
Yes, start date too.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now that's clear. I just wanted to make sure because I thought every time I hand key them, I thought, okay, is this right? Is this wrong? I don't want all my stuff to be taken back. So thank you for that clarification.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and Mill is saying that the job aid is different. That needs to be corrected then. Problem with the A1B is that the job aid on the end says to enter the start of the benefit period. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for pointing that out. That means that we need to update that. That's a benefit period in which the discharge verification is effective. Do not enter the initial hospital. Okay. Then that job aid definitely needs to match what is in the manual because that's the go-to for what CMS's guidelines are. So thank you for pointing that out. That needs to be updated. Y'all are so good. You're asking such great questions. Okay. And I'm showing we're at time. Let's see, time flies when you're having a good time. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for all of your great questions. Make sure that you, if you have any suggestions for our podcast or for some different or more education, we would love to hear that from you. You can either, click the link to the survey. I think you're also going to get one in email. once we're finished here. And yeah, and any suggestions today for podcasts, we would love to hear that as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate all of your great questions and your time that you take out to be with me and to join our education sessions. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will talk to you all hopefully again soon. Bye, everyone.